Hello all, Rambling Canuck here for a video. Today's video is going to be a very special one. It's a salute to the strongest man I ever knew. On April the 25th of this year will mark 17 years since my father, Arthur Frederick Knowles, passed away. So, with the anniversary coming up, I thought it would be fun to relive some of the more humorous moments and to kind of give you an idea of who my dad was. So with that out of the way, my father, Arthur Frederick Knowles, who, for the record, if you called him Arthur, would look at you sideways, and if you called him Frederick, would throw his cane at you. It was Art, period. Which is why in the graphic next to me, over there, it says Art, because if you used Arthur, you were in the shithouse. But anyway, my dad was born in Darlingford, Manitoba in 1928. Now, Darlingford at the time was a farming town. Now it's a ghost town. I mean, there's not even a bank in town anymore, I don't think, since the last time I went down. So you can imagine me being born in 84. My father was already up in years. And it is through my dad that I learned to be a father. And just him being my dad to begin with showed me and taught me so much. My dad was living in a rooming house on the top floor, and my mom was living on the main floor, and my mother was with child at the time, and my dad was upstairs. And he had seen my mom come in and out, and my mom was going through some hard times at the time. And he was noticing that she wasn't doing as much grocery shopping as she should have been, especially for being pregnant. So my father, with really no reason to do so, approached my mom. And they got to be good friends to a degree. And then my father proposed to her an arrangement. He'd buy it, she'd cook it. That was the deal. And from there, they blossomed into a relationship. I was born. He signed my birth certificate. And he didn't have to do that. But he did. And now I carry his name. And in that act, he taught me what it is to be a man and a dad. And it's a lesson that I always remember. That sometimes in life throws you something and you either step up or you don't. My dad always taught me to step up. And that lesson has always stayed with me. And I think especially in this time, in this day and age, that's something that we could all learn from. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to step in and help my mom. He didn't know her from an atom. But he did. So, fast forward a few years, and my dad was always spoiled me rotten, to be honest. I was his boy. It was always funny because he would do things, and now that I'm older and I have kids of my own, I realize just how much he sacrificed to do those things. Never complained, though. And I always look back now when I'm in a dark time and I think back to him and the strength that he showed. and just how he could be in the darkest moment of history and be the happiest person in the world. He could always find a way to make a smile on his face. He was a jokester. He loved to get people. Good story of that is his doctor. As you can probably tell, my dad was not in the best of health near the end. And so he had lots of doctor's visits. And my father was stubborn and stuck in his ways, and nobody would tell him different. Well, nobody that was intelligent would tell him different. Anyway. And one of the things my dad dreaded was every time he'd go to the doctor, he'd get a 20-minute speech about how he needs to quit drinking and quit smoking. And my father always dreaded those conversations. So one time we were at the doctor's office in the waiting room, and my dad gets called, and of course I go in because I always went in with him. And right before we entered the doctor's office, my dad nudges me, goes, "Hey, watch this." And right away I knew that something bad was going to happen. So we get into the office. A couple of minutes later, the doctor shows up. And before the doctor can say anything to my dad looks at him straight-faced, absolutely straight-faced. "Well, Doc," he says, I don't drink or smoke anymore." My dad stops, pauses. Now, as his son, I knew this was absolute baloney because he had just finished a smoke before we had gone in the car. So I didn't say anything, and the doctor proceeded to go into a 20-minute congratulatory speech about how proud he was of my dad for quitting smoking and not drinking anymore and all the rest of it. And my dad let him go for 20 minutes. Just let him go off on how proud he was of my dad and everything else. And my dad kept a straight face through the whole thing. And then he finally let a smirk out, and he looked at his doctor and said, "But then again, Doc, I don't smoke and drink any less." The look on that doctor's face was priceless. He paused, he started laughing, looked at my dad and went, "You got me. You bugger, you got me. Your tests are fine, you're good to go," and the doctor left the room. But that was the kind of humor my dad had. He'd get you when you least expect it. And it was always so funny. I always remember that look on that doctor's face, because he had just gone 20 minutes telling my dad how proud he was, and then my dad shut him down. It was just funny. Absolutely hilarious. So another life lesson my dad taught me was, chips can be down, but take time to laugh. Because if you don't, life gets boring and dull. So take the time to laugh. Have some fun with it. And another doctor story with my dad to give you an idea. And it really, really amazed me how much my dad could just, you could tell my dad something absolutely terrible and my dad would just let it float off his back like it was nothing. Like right near the end, my dad got told by the doctor that he had lung cancer for the second time. And the doctor proceeded to give him the gloom and doom speech about how he was not healthy enough for surgery, not healthy enough for chemo. The best they could do was keep his pain levels down. And where a lot of people I know would have been absolutely destroyed at this, my dad looked the doctor straight in the face and went, "Are you done?" And the doctor says, "Yeah, that's pretty much it." He says, "Good, because I've needed a smoke for 10 minutes. He got up, walked out, lit a cigarette, and went, "All right, so let's go shopping." It was just like, yeah, There's nothing I can do about it. So to hell with it. I'm going to make the best of it. And he did. He absolutely did. He lived every day. Surrounded himself with people that he cared about. And he didn't let things get to him. Once in a while he would. We all have our faults. But for the most part, even staring that news down in the face, it was just like, bring it. And that taught me so much. And I thank him for that. And you know, I think in this time, with everything going on, we could really learn something from that. Things might be down, but they'll get better. And if they don't, well, we really don't have much control over it. But what we do have control over is how we are, how we act with one another, how we treat one another. My dad would always be the first one there with a helping hand. Whether you wronged him, whether you agreed with him, whether you didn't agree with him, my dad was the first one there. Whether he could do it or not, my dad was the first one there. Even if you had messed up time and time again, doing the same mistake over and over and over, my dad was the one who was there to catch you. No judgment. No, I told you so. Just there to catch you. So when you're out in the world, especially at this time, be that person. Be that person that no matter what the other person has done, and even if they haven't done anything to you and you don't know them through Adam, be that person to catch them. Because sooner or later, we're all going to be in that position, one time or another. So I'm going to leave you guys with a little bit of a thought and a takeaway. Live like my dad. Be proud of who you are. Accept your faults. Always be the guy to catch others when they fall. Don't just be there to celebrate the successes. I've prepared a small little slideshow for my dad. I hope you'll watch it. And thanks, folks. And until next time, take her easy. And Dad, I love you. You're forever missed, and you'll always be in my heart. And if I'm half the dad that you are when we meet again, then I succeeded in life. Love you, Dad.